Punishment is not a discussion, Alpha King Bennett Hale said, and the entire beast infirmary went silent enough to hear the royal direwolf breathing. Harper Wren stood in the center of the white-tiled room with her sleeves rolled up, blue-silver medicine drying on her fingers, and 11 armed guards watching her like she had already confessed. Behind them, 3 council witnesses held their polished tablets, ready to record the downfall of one low-rank Omega healer before breakfast. Harper looked past all of them to the massive black direwolf lying on the treatment platform. Rook, the crowned beast of Silvercrest, should have been terrifying, even weak. 900 pounds of muscle, shadow-black fur, amber eyes, and the kind of reputation that made grown alphas step aside in grocery store parking lots. But right now he looked wrong. Too still, too quiet, too carefully arranged for people who wanted a story to look simple. High Beta Silas Greer stepped forward with a folder in his hand and satisfaction tucked neatly behind his smile. The poison was found in her cabinet, Your Majesty. Her name is on the night shift log. Her assistant saw her enter the royal kennel at 12:08 a.m. Harper gave him a tired look. My assistant also thinks peppermint treats cure broken ribs. No one laughed. Rook's ear twitched. Bennett's eyes moved to her, cold gray and heavy with the kind of authority people usually mistook for truth. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a black wool coat with the silver crest of the throne pinned at his collar. He looked like a man built out of law, winter, and bad news. Harper felt her Omega instincts tell her to lower her eyes. She didn't. Something warm and sharp flickered beneath her ribs the moment his gaze locked with hers. Not fear. Not exactly. A pull. A warning. A door inside her chest opening half an inch before she slammed it shut. Bennett felt it too. She saw it in the smallest pause of his hand, the slight tightening of his jaw. Silas noticed nothing, which was typical of men who love power but had never learned to listen. Harper Wren, Bennett said, voice low. By pack law, you are accused of harming the crown beast. Until judgment is complete, you will be restrained and removed from royal service. A guard reached for her arm. Rook moved. Not fast, not violently, but with terrible purpose. The great beast dragged himself off the platform, one heavy paw at a time, knocking a tray of bandages to the floor. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Bennett snapped, "Rook, stay." Rook did not stay. He crossed the room, shoved himself between Harper and the guard, and lowered his massive head against her knee, like she was the only safe place left in the palace. Harper's breath caught, not because she was afraid, but because under her palm, when she touched his fur, she felt it. No poison, no sickness, no guilt. Pain, yes. Confusion. And underneath it, the burned echo of an old command forced into a bond that should have been sacred. Harper looked up at the Alpha King who had come to punish her and said, very quietly, "Your beast wasn't poisoned. He was ordered to betray you." For one full second, nobody moved, because there are certain things a pack knows how to survive: storms, border disputes, bad coffee at council meetings, but a crowned beast disobeying his Alpha King in front of witnesses was not on the emergency list. Bennett Hale stared at Rook, and the command in his gray eyes sharpened until even the guards seemed to stand straighter by instinct. "Rook," he said again, quieter this time. "Come to me." The direwolf pressed harder against Harper's leg. Harper looked down at him, then back at the king. "He heard you." A few people forgot to breathe. Silas Greer turned toward her with a smile that had lost its polish around the edges. "Careful, healer. You are already accused of one crime." Harper kept one hand in Rook's fur, feeling the uneven heat under his skin. "Then I should probably not waste the moment by being polite." Bennett took one step forward. Rook lifted his head and growled, not loud, not wild, just enough to make every alpha in the room remember that royal symbols sometimes came with teeth. The growl was not aimed at Harper. It was not even aimed at the guards. It was aimed at anyone who tried to pull her away. Bennett's jaw flexed. The movement was small, but Harper caught it, because healers notice small things. A lame dog hid pain in one shoulder. A proud Alpha King hid panic in one locked muscle near his mouth. "Explain what you meant," Bennett said. "Now." Harper almost laughed. Of course he made even questions sound like court orders. She crouched beside Rook, ignoring the sharp intake of breath from the council witnesses. Low-rank Omegas were not supposed to kneel in front of kings unless they were begging. Harper was not begging. She was working. She parted the thick black fur at Rook's neck and pressed 2 fingers under the jawline, where the pulse beat heavy and uneven. Beneath the warmth, she felt it again, a bitter metallic echo tangled through the bond. "This is not poison," she said. "Poison leaves a trail in the blood. This feels like a command injury." Silas gave a soft scoff. "There is no such diagnosis. There is if you know more than 5 things about beasts and less than 20 things about covering your own backside." Someone behind her made a strangled sound. Rook's tail moved once against the tile. Bennett did not smile, but something flickered in his eyes before duty smothered it. "Command injury," he repeated. Harper nodded. "Someone forced an order through a bond strong enough to make him fight himself. That is why he collapsed. Not because he is weak. Because he refused to obey something that felt wrong." The room changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but the guards began looking at Rook instead of Harper. The witnesses lowered their tablets. Silas noticed and lifted his chin. "Your Majesty, this is emotional manipulation. The accused is using beast behavior to delay judgment." Rook sneezed directly onto Silas's polished shoes. Harper looked at the floor. "That was not medical evidence, but I support it." Bennett's mouth tightened again, dangerously close to not being angry. Then Harper found it. A thin crescent mark hidden under the fur, too clean to be a scratch, too old-fashioned to belong in a modern royal infirmary. Her fingers went cold. Bennett saw her face. "What?" She looked up slowly. There was a collar here. The words dropped hard. The nearest guard whispered, "Command collars are banned." Silas stepped forward too fast. "That is enough." Rook bared one tooth. Bennett raised a hand, and for the first time since entering the room, he stopped looking at Harper like a sentence already written. He looked at her like a problem he could not afford to misunderstand. "Nobody touches her," he said. "Not until I know why my beast trusts her more than my court." By sundown, Harper Wren had been promoted from accused traitor to prisoner with medical privileges, which was apparently what mercy looked like when it wore a crown. 2 guards walked her through the east corridor of Silvercrest Palace with Rook limping beside her, refusing every stretcher, every leash, and one very nervous young attendant holding a bowl of broth. Bennett followed 3 steps behind, silent as a winter road. Nobody said out loud that the crowned beast had chosen to walk with the accused Omega instead of his king. Everybody thought it loudly. The royal kennel was not a kennel in any normal American sense. It was a glass and stone medical wing built under the north side of the palace, with heated floors, silver runes in the walls, and equipment clean enough to make Harper afraid to touch anything without being billed for it. Rook ignored the expensive treatment platform and dropped onto the floor beside Harper's boots. "Of course," she muttered. 900 pounds of royal drama, and you choose tile." Rook huffed. One guard looked away like he had nearly smiled and wished to survive the evening. Bennett stopped near the doorway. "You will treat him here. You will not leave this wing. Every dose, every bandage, every word will be recorded." A beta clerk at the side table lifted his tablet with the haunted expression of a man who had not planned to document wolf feelings for a living. Harper rolled up her sleeves. "Great. Start with this. Patient is stubborn, dehydrated, offended by everyone in authority, and has better instincts than this council." The clerk froze. Bennett's eyes narrowed. "That last part is not medical. It is relevant history." For a moment, the room held its breath. Then Rook pushed his nose under Harper's hand, demanding she stop wasting time insulting the government and begin helping him. She knelt beside him and pressed her palm to the old mark hidden beneath his fur. The bond backlash rose again, colder this time, like touching a wire that still remembered lightning. Harper swallowed hard. Bennett stepped forward before she could hide the flinch. "Pain. Not mine. That was not my question." The pull beneath her ribs returned, warm and unwelcome, a strange answer from a bond neither of them had admitted existed. Harper kept her eyes on Rook. "You ask questions like you were arresting them." Bennett came closer anyway. He smelled like cedar, rain on wool, and control held too tightly for too long. "And you avoid answers like you have had practice." That landed closer than she liked. Harper worked her fingers along Rook's neck, feeling the pattern. Someone did not just give him an order. They planted a path for the order to travel. A collar would explain the entry point, but not the trigger. Bennett looked at Rook, and something in his face shifted. Not softness, exactly. More like fear forced to stand at attention. Royal beasts cannot be compelled. They can if someone knows the old bloodline protocols. Harper looked up. Who still has access to those? The beta clerk suddenly became fascinated by his tablet. Bennett did not answer fast enough. Rook lifted his head, sniffed the air, then turned toward the Alpha King with slow, accusing focus. Bennett frowned. What? Rook reached out with one massive paw, hooked the edge of Bennett's black coat, and tugged. A small silver crest pin snapped loose and skittered across the floor. Harper picked it up before anyone could stop her. The metal was warm. Too warm. Beneath the polish, she smelled moonbane oil and old command dust. The same bitter trace burned into Rook's neck. She looked at Bennett, then at the guards, then back to the pin in her palm. Your Majesty, she said quietly. The trigger was on you. The room changed around the silver pin as if Harper had dropped a live match onto dry grass. Bennett did not reach for it. That was the first smart thing any powerful man had done all day. He only looked at the crest in her palm, then at Rook, then at the two guards who were suddenly pretending they had never pinned that same crest onto his coat before the morning summit. Who handled my formal coat? Bennett asked. His voice was calm, which somehow made it worse. One guard swallowed. Royal Wardrobe, Your Majesty. Then High Beta Greer inspected the seal before the council session. Silas, who had arrived at the kennel door with 3 council members and the confidence of a man who enjoyed bad timing, stopped walking. Standard protocol, he said. The crown crest must be verified before public appearances. Harper lifted the pin closer to the light. The moonbane oil shimmered faintly in the groove around the wolf emblem. Standard protocol usually smells less like illegal compulsion. Silas looked at her like she was mud on a white carpet. A low-rank healer does not lecture the high beta on royal security. Rook rose just enough to show one tooth. Harper patted his shoulder without looking down. He is not a fan of your tone. Honestly, neither am I, but he has the better teeth. The beta clerk made a small coughing sound and typed very quickly, probably to avoid becoming part of history. Bennett took the pin from Harper with a strip of clean gauze, careful not to touch the metal. Lock down the crown vault. No one enters or leaves without my order. Silas laughed once, polite and empty. Your Majesty, with respect, this is getting theatrical. The accused has turned a medical incident into a conspiracy because she knows the evidence points to her. The evidence was sitting on my coat, Bennett said. That concerns me. For the first time, Silas lost half a second. Harper saw it. So did Rook. Bennett saw both of them seeing it. That was the trouble with lies in a room full of wolves. They had a smell, even when they wore pressed suits. Silas recovered fast. Then perhaps your Majesty should know who you are protecting. He opened the folder in his hand and slid a document across the metal table. Harper Wren is not merely a healer. Her mother was Marion Wren. Harper went still. The infirmary lights hummed above them. The name landed in the room like a door slamming somewhere deep underground. Bennett looked at her. Is that true? Harper kept her chin up, but the pull in her chest tightened. The bond, or whatever cruel thing had started between them, did not understand timing. Yes. Silas turned to the council witnesses. Marion Wren was convicted of forbidden beast interference 17 years ago. Her family was removed from palace service. The daughter concealed her name to enter royal employment. Harper gave a small, bitter smile. I used my legal name. Sorry it did not come with a warning label. Bennett picked up the old report. His face hardened as he read, not with anger at her, but with recognition he clearly did not want. Harper knew that look. It was the look people had when the past walked into the room and sat down without asking. My mother was innocent, she said. She said the crowned beast was being controlled. Nobody listened because she was an Omega and the council liked its version better. Silas spread his hands. Convenient. Bennett turned the last page. His thumb stopped near the bottom. Harper followed his gaze and felt the floor tilt beneath her. There, under the judgment that destroyed her family, was the signature of Crown Prince Bennett Hale. Not a rumor. Not a council whisper. Ink. His ink. Harper stepped back before she knew she had moved. Rook pressed against her side, steadying her. Bennett looked up, and for the first time since she had met him, the Alpha King had no command ready. Harper's voice came out quiet. You signed it. Harper stared at the signature until the letters stopped looking like ink and started looking like the shape of every closed door in her life. Bennett Hale, Crown Prince. Approved by emergency authority. For words beneath it, Wren family service terminated. It was amazing how small a page could be and still ruin a childhood. Bennett set the report down slowly. I was 24, he said. My father had been dead for 9 days. The Eastern Pacts were threatening to break treaty, and the council brought me 67 emergency orders before sunrise. Harper laughed once, but there was no humor in it. That must have been exhausting for you. The words hit him. She saw it. Good. Some things deserve to land hard. I did not know, Bennett said. You signed anyway. Rook pressed closer against Harper's leg, a warm wall of fur and judgment. Silas stood near the door, looking almost gentle now, which made Harper trust him even less. This is exactly why she concealed her background, Your Majesty. Revenge has always been the Wren family disease. Harper turned on him. My mother died poor, because your council called her a liar. Do not stand there in your nice shoes and diagnose grief. The room went dead quiet. Bennett looked at Silas, and for the first time, the high beta lowered his eyes a fraction too late. Not enough for guilt. Enough for memory. The mate bond pulled under Harper's ribs again, soft and painful, like her heart had recognized Bennett and then remembered it had every reason not to. She hated that most of all. She could handle being accused. She could handle guards, old reports, and a wolf the size of a pickup truck using her as emotional furniture. But she did not know what to do with the part of her that still noticed Bennett's hand tightening when she hurt. Harper, he said quietly. She stepped back. Do not say my name like you found it. Before he could answer, the kennel doors opened and Lady Vivian Cross walked in wearing winter white gloves and a smile polished for cameras, even though no cameras were allowed in Royal Medical Wings. I heard there was concern about the crowned beast, Vivian said. How heartbreaking. Rook lifted his head. His nose twitched once. Then he sneezed so hard the beta clerk dropped his tablet. Harper blinked, then looked at Vivian's gloves. Beneath the expensive lavender perfume was something bitter, oily, and familiar. Moonbane. Harper forgot to be angry for half a second. Where did you get those gloves? Vivian's smile thinned. Excuse me. Rook growled, low and certain. Bennett noticed. So did Silas, who moved one step closer to Vivian as if by accident. Harper pointed at the gloves. That scent is on the crest pin. It is also in Rook's bond injury. Vivian pulled her hands behind her back. Too fast. Bennett saw it, and his face changed from personal regret to kingly danger. Silas spoke first. Enough. This healer has manipulated the beast, insulted the council, and now accuses a treaty candidate. She must be removed before the Blood Moon Assembly. Harper looked at Bennett. This was the moment. Not the bond, not the apology, not the sadness in his eyes. The choice. Bennett looked at the old report, then at Rook, then at Harper. No, he said. Silas went still. Bennett's voice dropped. She stays until I know the truth. Harper wanted that to feel like justice. It did not. Not yet. Because the man finally defending her was the same man whose signature had buried her mother. The Blood Moon Assembly began under a red sky and a very bad mood. Silvercrest Palace had built its outdoor amphitheater into the side of the mountain. All black stone, glass rails, heated seats, and old pine trees leaning close like they wanted the gossip firsthand. Pack leaders from 9 territories filled the rows in tailored coats and formal boots, their rank pins shining under the moonlight. Harper stood near the lower archway with 2 guards beside her, Rook at her hip, and Bennett 20 feet away on the central platform, looking every inch like a king who had slept maybe 40 minutes and trusted exactly no one. Silas Greer addressed the gathered packs with smooth concern. We meet tonight under strain. The crowned beast has shown instability. A low-rank healer with a concealed family history has been allowed unusual access. The throne must prove it remains stronger than private attachment. There it was. Not accusation. Performance. Harper felt the crowd turn toward her in layers. Curiosity first, then suspicion, then the old familiar dislike people save for Omegas who stood too close to power. Bennett's gaze cut to Silas. Choose your next words carefully. Silas bowed. Always, Your Majesty. Rook growled softly. Harper placed a hand on his shoulder. Easy, big guy. His fur was too warm. His pulse jumped under her palm in a pattern she now recognized. Command pressure. Somewhere in the amphitheater, someone had triggered the old path again. Rook's ears pinned back. He stepped away from Harper, then stopped, fighting himself so hard his whole body trembled. The crowd stirred. A council elder stood. The beast is unstable. No, Harper said, but her voice vanished beneath the rising noise. Bennett felt it too. His hand went to his chest, as if the pain had crossed through the bloodline bond and struck him there. Rook, he said, not as a command this time, but as a plea wrapped in royal discipline. Rook backed toward the open aisle, trying to get away from everyone before the forced order could make him move wrong. That was what broke Harper. She shoved past the guards and ran down the steps. Harper, stop, Bennett ordered. She did not. Later, she would admit it was the worst survival strategy available. At the time, it was the only decent one. She reached Rook at the edge of the platform and pressed both hands to his face. Listen to me, she whispered. Not the order. Not the collar. Me. The backlash hit like ice water through her bones. She gasped, knees almost giving out, but she held on. Rook made a low, broken sound and leaned into her hands. The red moon blurred above them. Through the bond, Harper felt Bennett suddenly, not as king, not as signature, not as law, but as a man terrified he was about to lose the only two creatures in the arena telling him the truth. Bennett crossed the platform and dropped to one knee beside her in front of every pack leader in the Dominion. Gasps moved through the amphitheater like wind through dry leaves. Silas smiled. Harper saw it over Rook's shoulder and understood too late. This was the picture he wanted. The Alpha King kneeling for an accused Omega while his crowned beast shook beneath her hands. Silas lifted his voice. Witnesses of Silvercrest, you have seen enough. The healer has compromised the throne. Bennett looked up, eyes cold enough to freeze the mountain. No, he said. You have shown me exactly where the rot begins. By 4 a.m, Silvercrest Palace looked less like a royal residence and more like a very expensive building pretending it had not just nearly fallen apart in public. Pack leaders were locked in emergency meetings. Council members moved through the halls in tight little groups, whispering like bad decisions had learned to wear dress shoes. Harper woke in the medical wing with a blanket over her shoulders, a headache behind her eyes, and Rook snoring beside her bed like a broken engine with royal clearance. Bennett stood near the window, still in his formal coat, watching the first gray light touch the mountains. He turned the moment she moved. You should have stayed behind the guards. Harper blinked at him. Good morning to you, too. His face tightened. You could have been seriously hurt. Rook could have been forced into hurting someone. I picked the problem I could live with. Bennett looked away first, which felt strange. Kings were not built for losing eye contact with women they had almost arrested. Silas has called for a confidence review, he said. Vivian's family is backing him. 3 territory alphas want you removed before sunset. Harper sat up slowly. Rook lifted his head and rested his chin on the mattress, as if supervising her pulse through pure judgment. So the plan worked. Bennett's eyes came back to her. His plan. No, she said quietly. Mine. The room went still. Even Rook stopped breathing dramatically, which was impressive for someone who had been snoring like a lawnmower. Harper pushed the blanket aside. If I stay here, they use me to split the Dominion. If you protect me, they call you compromised. If you punish me, Rook breaks himself trying to stop it. There is no clean option inside this palace. Bennett stepped closer. You are not leaving. There it was again, that alpha tone, the one that made rooms behave and people forget they had choices. Harper felt the bond tug hard beneath her ribs, warm and aching, begging her to trust what he had not earned yet. Do not make that voice the only thing you have, she said. The words hit him harder than anger would have. He stopped. Harper softened, just a little, because she was tired and he looked like a man standing under the weight of every crown ever made. Find the real file on my mother. Find who had access to the old command protocols. And do not let Silas put Rook under council supervision. Bennett said nothing for a long moment. Then, quietly, where will you go? Harper gave Rook a tired look. My old clinic outside the Denver line. Unless his royal stubbornness plans to sit on me. Rook immediately placed one paw over her foot. Bennett almost smiled. Almost. Harper noticed and hated that it hurt. By sunrise, she was gone with a small backpack, 3 clean shirts, and enough medicine to keep Rook stable for 2 days. She left Bennett a handwritten list taped to the treatment cabinet. First, no moonbane near Rook. Second, check the Crest Vault records from 17 years ago. Third, if he eats a towel, he is offended, not hungry. Bennett found the note at 6:32. At 6:35, Rook disappeared from the royal kennel. At 8:17, Bennett's security team located the crowned beast 60 miles away, lying across the porch of Harper's little brick clinic like a 900-pound lawsuit. Bennett arrived alone near noon, wearing jeans, boots, and a dark jacket with no crest pin. Harper opened the door holding a coffee mug and looking deeply unimpressed. "Your throne know you are out unsupervised?" Bennett held up a weathered folder. His voice was rough. "I found your mother's sealed testimony." Harper's face changed. Bennett looked at Rook, then back at her. She did not betray the crowned beast. She was trying to save him from Silas. Silvercrest Hall had been built for coronations, not apologies, which made it perfect for both. By dusk, every major alpha in the Dominion stood beneath its high glass ceiling while rain tapped against the windows and the old pack banners hung still above the council dais. Bennett had ordered the hearing himself, not through Silas, not through the council, not through the polished machinery that had buried Harper's mother 17 years earlier. He stood before the throne in a plain black coat, with no crown pin, no ceremonial chain, and no attempt to look comfortable. Harper entered through the side doors with Rook at her left, the sealed folder under one arm, and a paper coffee cup in her hand, because if half the Dominion wanted to watch her relive family trauma, she was not doing it undercaffeinated. A few nobles whispered when they saw her. Vivian Cross looked at the cup like caffeine was a social disease. Harper smiled at her. Rook sneezed. Bennett waited until the room settled, then spoke clearly. "This is not a trial of Harper Wren. This is a review of crown corruption, illegal beast compulsion, and the false judgment against Marion Wren." Silas rose slowly from his council seat. "Your Majesty, this is a dangerous misuse of royal authority." Bennett looked at him. "I have been hearing that phrase from you since I was 24. It worked better before I found out what it was hiding." The hall went quiet. Harper stepped forward and placed 3 items on the long table. The silver crest pin, Vivian's winter white glove sealed in a clear evidence pouch, and a strip of old collar leather taken from the vault beneath her mother's sealed testimony. Her voice stayed even, but her hands knew the truth. They shook once before she made them stop. Moonbane oil was used to carry command dust through metal and cloth. The same formula is on the crest pin, the glove, and the collar used 17 years ago. A council elder frowned. "A healer cannot prove intent by scent. Good thing I brought a 900-pound second opinion." Rook walked forward. Nobody ordered him. Nobody dared. He passed Bennett, past the elders, past Vivian, who turned pale beneath all that expensive confidence, and stopped in front of the council dais. Then he lowered his head, pushed his nose beneath the carved silver panel, and dragged out a hidden metal case. The room seemed to forget how air worked. Bennett opened it with a cloth. Inside lay command dust packets, old protocol keys, and a ledger marked with Silas Greer's private seal. Silas did not run. Men like him rarely did. They preferred to look offended by consequences. "Fabricated," he said. Harper looked at Bennett, and for a painful second, she saw the young prince who had signed without asking, and the king who now had to break his own cord in public. Bennett turned to the hall. Marion Wren was innocent. Harper Wren was accused to protect the same crime. The crown failed them both. I failed them both. He faced Harper then, not as an alpha giving a command, but as a man choosing truth where pride would have been easier. "I am sorry." Harper's throat tightened. She did not forgive him. Not yet. But the room heard the apology, and that mattered. Bennett looked back at Silas. "By oath law, you are removed as High Beta. You will serve exile at the Northern Beast Sanctuary, under guard, repairing the damage you spent a lifetime calling duty." Rook gave one sharp bark. Harper took a sip of coffee. He supports the sentencing. 3 weeks after Silas Greer left for the Northern Beast Sanctuary, Silvercrest Palace learned a new and uncomfortable skill, telling the truth on purpose. It started with 1 room in the West Wing, then became 6 tables, 12 clerks, and boxes of old judgments stacked so high that one junior beta asked if corruption counted as architecture. Bennett reopened every case tied to forbidden beast compulsion, low-rank Omega healers, and council emergency authority. He did not announce it with music or banners. He sat at the first table himself, rolled up his sleeves, and read until his eyes looked tired enough to be honest. Harper watched from the doorway with Rook leaning against her hip, shedding black fur on a rug that probably cost more than her old clinic. "He is making a statement," one council aide whispered. Harper looked at Bennett signing the first reversal order for Marion Wren. No, she said. He is cleaning up a mess. That mattered more. Power loved ceremonies because ceremonies were neat. Repair was not neat. Repair had coffee stains, missing files, angry witnesses, and widows who did not want royal sympathy, but did want their names cleared before they died. Bennett listened to all of them. Sometimes he apologized. Sometimes they accepted it. Sometimes they walked away without forgiving him, and he let them. That was when Harper began to believe he might actually be changing. Not because he had chosen her in front of the pack, but because he kept choosing responsibility when nobody was clapping. Rook recovered fully, which he celebrated by stealing Bennett's left boot and hiding it in Harper's treatment cabinet. Bennett found it beside a jar of joint balm and stared at the beast. That was Italian leather. Rook sneezed. Harper did not look up from her notes. He says your humility needed conditioning. You cannot hear him. No, but he has a very readable personality. Bennett almost smiled. This time, he did not hide it fast enough. On the night the new Beast Protection Charter was signed, the pack gathered in Silvercrest Hall again. No one called Harper and accused Omega now. They called her Royal Speaker for Beasts, which sounded too grand for a woman who still kept dog treats in her coat pocket. Bennett stood beside her, not in front of her, and placed Marion Wren's cleared record on the table before the entire Dominion. A throne is not proved by how loudly it commands, he said. It is proved by what it protects when protection costs pride. Harper felt the bond between them answer, quiet and steady, no longer a trap, no longer a demand. Just a path. Bennett turned to her after the hall emptied, his voice low enough to belong only to the space between them. The bond found you before I deserved you. Harper looked at the cleared record, then at Rook sleeping across the doorway like a furry security system with trust issues. Then keep deserving it. Bennett nodded. No argument. No royal speech. Just the promise of work. Harper did not forgive the past all at once. People who demand instant forgiveness usually want comfort, not healing. But she stayed. She built the infirmary into a place where low-rank healers could speak without lowering their eyes, where beasts were treated as souls with instincts, not weapons with fur, and where the Alpha King learned that loyalty was not obedience. Loyalty was the courage to stand beside the truth, even when the truth embarrassed the crown. Years later, people still told the story of the night Rook chose an Omega healer over the court. They told it like a romance, and maybe it was. But Harper knew it was also a warning. Love without dignity becomes possession. Power without humility becomes harm. And a real alpha does not become great by making everyone kneel. He becomes worthy when the most wounded creature in the room finally feels safe enough to stay.